Okay, so I think back in March, after the release of Snow White and its performance at the box office, a lot of people probably thought that we were just done with live action-ish versions of animated classics. But then Lilo and Stitch and How to Train Your Dragon came out, and both are on track for like $1 billion at the box office. So I think it's safe to say that we're in for another 20 years of live action-ish animated movies. Instead of having these like animated classics from like the early age, we're going to be focusing instead on movies from the 2000s and 2010s. So today I thought it'd be fun to do a bit of a tier list of classic 2000s animated movies to see how well a live action-ish version of them would do. So first up, we have Cars. Now, this is one that I really don't think is going to be able to translate into a live action version all that well, given that they are cars. That being said, there's no humans that it's going to have to interact with, so I think it's going to be a little bit easier than movies like Toy Story, where there's some toys, some humans, this kind of weird uncanny valley. I also think that this one just has huge merch potential. One of the things that I think a lot of people didn't realize about Lilo and Stitch is just how well-selling Stitch merch is. It's like one of the top-selling Disney merch items ever, really. And Cars also sells a ton of merch. And so for that reason, I think that we're undoubtedly going to get another Cars live action version, and so I'm going to put it up into A tier. Next up, we have Frozen, another Disney movie. This is another one with $2 billion at the box office. Both movies did super well. I think the fact that it's going to be very easy to translate this movie into live action, given that it's primarily human actors. There's also great hit songs that people will enjoy going to listen to, even if they don't necessarily like the version of the movie. As we've seen with something like The Lion King, people really hang on to great music. And so for this reason, I think it's going to go all the way into S tier. There's a lot of merch available for it, so I think it's definitely going to be made. Following on to that, we have Moana. This one's a bit of a cheat because there actually already is a live action Moana being made right now. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's going to star in it. There's going to be great music. It's going to do super well. We saw with Moana 2. That one's obviously S tier. Okay, another animated classic from the 2000s is Ice Age. Now, this franchise has done, I think, like $3 billion. This is a very popular franchise. There's been like 5 movies out. This one, I think, is quite hard to turn into a live-action version. Like, we did see with Lion King that you can just have just purely animals, but that movie has, like, really great music. And the fact that Ice Age is not a musical, I think, makes it harder. The fact that the animals behave very realistically, like, do we necessarily want to see that? I don't think so. And for this reason, I think that that's going to be down in C tier. I can't put in D tier because $3 billion at the box office is a lot of money. Okay, similarly, we have Zootopia. Another movie is coming out this summer, so we're about to see like how well the brand is alive. I think this is another one where it's just mostly animals, so it's hard to make it into a really great live action movie. I think two of the takeaways that you should see, or I guess one of the takeaways from the 2 successful live action-ish movies, with Lilo and Stitch, it's mostly humans, and then there's, one main live action-ish monster that's really cute and cuddly and behaves with humans, and it's kind of like something you could imagine, like, as a kid, that this thing comes into your life and, you interacted with it that way. There's other, like, aliens and stuff like that, but that's kind of the core. And then you have How to Train Your Dragon, which is mostly humans, but then there's obviously dragons, which is super awesome. And, like, if you're a kid, like, going to see real dragons, like, that sounds very awesome. With something like Zootopia, I don't think it necessarily works as well because there's no human element to it, so there's not really a reason to make a live-action version. We'll see how well it does at the box office. I think it's more likely to get an animated sequel next. So I'm going to put it down there with Ice Age down in C tier. All right, next up we have Ratatouille. Now, this is a Pixar classic movie. Now, this movie is absolutely deserves a live-action version, and you're going to go see it. It's going to be very easy to animate because it's primarily one rat. The only struggle is making sure that the rat looks cute and not, like, disgusting, considering that he's going to be, like, crawling around in the kitchen, the sewers and stuff like that. But the fact that it's, like, very easy to translate into a live-action movie, there's a ride of him in the Paris Disneyland. But following on with that, we have WALL-E. Now, this is another one where it's going to be something that people are going to go see, whether they are, hardened cynics and stuff like that. It doesn't matter. They're going to be 2 cute robots. There's going to be a few humans, but the humans, they interact sort of separately with the main story. And so I think seeing, like, an animated robot on like a realistic looking like Earth and stuff like that, or on the spaceships, people are going to enjoy that. And I think people are going to go watch and pay money for it. So I'm going to put it up in S tier as well. Again, Up, another one that's just going to smash it. It doesn't matter if you're like, oh, I hate remakes, I hate sequels, there's no original storytelling. Like, you put some auteur director on this one, we call Greta Gerwig up, we call, some old actors up, and like, you're going to get someone that it's just going to click, and this movie is going to make a lot of money, and it's going to be quite simple to translate from animation into live action. A lot of the gags will still work just fine. There's no way that Up doesn't get turned into a live action movie, and you're going to go see it whether you want to or not. All right, next up we have The Incredibles. Now, The Incredibles is a funny franchise because it has done very well, but the two movies were released like 10 plus years apart. It's obviously starring just humans, so it's very easy to turn into a live action movie, especially now where CG has gotten a lot better than when the original movie was released. The original movie was released like early 2000s, and so now with all the superhero movies, it's easy to make, but I think it's going to be expensive because it's going to be a superhero movie, so it's going to have a high budget. It also has to compete with all the other superhero movies, which makes it sort of less appealing. That being said, at some point, someone's going to want to try making this into live action, undoubtedly. So I'm going to put it into A tier. I think whether it'll still have all of its charm as a live action movie, I think it probably won't. So I don't think it doesn't get all the way up into S tier. Okay, next we have Toy Story, which this is a huge franchise, billions and billions of dollars. We're on to Toy Story 5. I think they're going to make Toy Story 6. Who knows? Like, it just keeps going. Now, I don't think that this movie is very easy to translate into a live action version because it's primarily toys, but it's like at this human scale. Some of the toys are human, some of the toys are not. So I think, like, how are you going to animate it so that some of the toys look human-like? Like, is Woody going to look human-like, or is he going to look like less human than Buzz or something like that? I don't know. I think it's going to be a bit weird. I think they are going to try it at some point, but I think it's a very bad idea. So I'm going to keep it at B tier. Okay, next up we have Kung Fu Panda. Now, this one is straight to S tier. Now, I know I've said with, some of the animal movies like Ice Age and Zootopia that just animal movies, it doesn't turn into a live action movie very well. Now, here's the thing. Kung Fu Panda is absolutely the exception. Now, for a couple of reasons. First, it is a Universal movie, and so Universal is going to want to continue this franchise. It's not a Disney movie. It doesn't have to compete with those other ones. It's going to have a full studio backing behind it. Another reason that Kung Fu Panda is going to do really well is that they're not really animals. They behave more like humans. They're doing Kung Fu, even in this pose, right? No panda ever acts like that. So it's going to be fun to see animals doing Kung Fu in, a live action-ish version of it. I think that's going to translate a lot better. The other part of it is the Jack Black of it all. He seemingly is this big kid star. Kids seem to find really funny, and they go out and see his movie. And so it's going to happen at some point. We're going to see a live action Kung Fu Panda. Next up, we have the Bee Movie. Now, this would just be a horrible idea to turn into a live action movie. Seinfeld, he hasn't had the best run in the past couple of years. I think ever since Curb Your Enthusiasm, a lot of people have been sort of crediting Larry David with some of his success. And this movie with a animated bee and a live action human, yeah, I think it's a horrible idea and should definitely not be made and will bomb at the box office. So I'll put it as a D tier. Okay, next up we have Madagascar. Now this is another animal-related movie, so it's going to be stuck in C tier. The animals maybe behave a bit more human-like, but I don't think it's going to be able to get over the hump of just sort of being weird with the animals walking around. That being said, there are quite a few movies with it, maybe something with the penguins. And speaking of penguins, Happy Feet. Now, Happy Feet, this would be a very weird movie to animate. I think it would look just sort of disturbing to see real penguins tap dancing. Obviously, the animation makes it cute and very endearing, but I think that this is even a worse idea than any of the other animal-full movies. We can just go ahead and throw Surf's Up, another penguin movie. Yeah, we're going to throw that down into D tier with Happy Feet. I think it's only fair that the two penguin movies are next to each other because it would be very bizarre to see surfing penguins in a real world. And I don't think that the merch fan base is big enough for either of those properties. Okay, now we have Inside Out. Now this movie, the second movie just made $1 billion last year, which is huge draw. Also, a lot of human characters, so that could easily translate. The problem is that the CG world and the live action world would basically never interact. And so I think that would be a weird tonal shift in the movie, and I don't fully know if it could handle it. So I don't know, would you do like a straight remake of Inside Out 1? Because I feel like by the time you make Inside Out 1, it'll be like 20 years past the first one, and I feel like that one's like very set at a specific time, and it may not be as relatable to people or to like kids, at that point in time. I think it's more likely that we'll see like an Inside Out 3 like 10 years on when, the main character is like in college or something like that. I think that's probably more likely. But the last one made $1 billion, so they still may try. So I'll leave it as B. Okay, then we have, the big hitter, the one that we all knew is coming, Shrek. Now, this has like 5 movies. I think they're making a new Shrek as we speak. As we speak currently, another Shrek is coming, and Shrek is going to dominate. Once there's a live action version, it doesn't matter how ugly and hideous that movie looks, it's going to breach the uncanny valley for sure. How are we going to have like Shrek and Fiona? Like, I don't know. It's going to look awful. It's going to look weird, but it's happening. It's absolutely going to happen. In the next 20 years, we're going to see a live action Shrek. And I think people are going to go to the box office. So that's a reality. Prepare yourself. Okay, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Now, this is a bit of a cheat because there's obviously been a lot of live-action Spider-Mans at this point. And so it's definitely going to happen. Specifically, this movie, as in Spider-Verse, remade plot for plot. I don't know about that. That might be, that might not happen necessarily, but there's definitely obviously going to be a Miles Morales Spider-Man at some point. There's no way Sony's not letting that happen. Okay, so next up we have Despicable Me. Now, this is a franchise I didn't necessarily connect with that much, but I think this franchise, like with all the Minion movies and everything, it's done like $5 billion. You got some human characters into it. They look very over the top and stuff like that, but you could translate that. Honestly, you could still just have Steve Carell. I think that you could make it work with him. And I think that you could make the monsters still sort of cute-ish. So I think it's absolutely happening. The size of fan base is huge, so it's gonna get up into S tier as well. I know we have a lot of S tiers, but that's just kind of the point. That's that we're gonna be inundated with these live action versions of animated movies, no matter what. They're coming for you. Okay, we got Tangled. This is an easy A tier. Now, I'm not putting it up into tier because it doesn't have the merch and fan base like backing as some of these other movies, but it's going to be so easy to like make a live action version of it. It's an easy shoe-in. It's going to happen. Then we got Coco. Now, Coco, this is a great movie. It has great music, obviously starring human characters. Very, very easy to translate into a live action movie. There's no way you don't make this movie. It's kind of an easy one. Easy, yes. In the same vein, Encanto. Now, this one didn't necessarily do as well in the box office, but I think, again, it's starring all human characters, great music. I think also the soundtrack to this has grown since like the release. Like, people really, really enjoy it. It's like a top stream album on Spotify. So this one also goes up into S tier. Easy yes on that one. Then we have Flushed Away. Now, this is another 2000 movies. Now, this one, unlike its rather than like Ratatouille, it doesn't make it to S tier. I think that there's no way people want to see this story again. This was a bit of a box office disappointment, considering how much it cost. I think it cost like $150 million and only did around $200 million at the box office. So I don't think it has the appetite there. So it's going to go down into D tier. It's gonna look weird having rats running around the sewers. Like, it's not going to look cute like Ratatouille. No way. All right, we have Super Mario Bros. Now, this one is easy S tier for merch and fan base. If you make a live action Mario Bros. Movie, it will do well. It will help Nintendo sell even more games. It won't happen anytime soon, I think, though, because A, we just had the first one release. So people are, they're going to wait and they're going to make a second one first. I think B, I think Nintendo is going to be very skeptical about any sort of brand impacts around a live action Mario, considering like the first live action Mario, like it wasn't great for the brand, I'm saying. So it's sort of S tier if they did make it, but like D tier in likelihood of being made. So I will give it S tier purely based on the size of its fan base and the fact that if it happened, it would do well. And that's kind of the point I'm trying to make, is that these movies will do well because there are huge fan bases for them, as demonstrated at the box office, as demonstrated by merch and other sales for these products. Universal just opened up a new Super Mario Land in Orlando. Next up, we have Over the Hedge. And now I love this movie, but it's an easy D tier. It's animal based. It doesn't have a huge merch fan base of it. And the whole social commentary of the movie is very early 2000s and very dated. But if you are interested in that, I actually made a whole YouTube video on it. So go watch it. There's a link below. Now we have Big Hero 6. Now this one doesn't necessarily have a huge fan base for it, but it's quite easy to translate into a live action movie, and therefore I think it will certainly happen. So I'm going to put it into B tier. Luca is another one that's very easy to translate into a live action movie. It didn't necessarily have the box office to back it. That being said, it's more recent than some of these on the list. So it could grow into a classic, and it could be a movie in 20 years where people are like, okay, let's think of an idea. Okay, this one is easy to turn into a live action remake. So that reason, I'm going to keep it in B tier with some of these other ones. Then we have Shark Tale. Now this movie, it looked very scary when it came out. This whole talking fish, they decided to not go for the Finding Nemo style of animation. Instead went for this fish with teeth type thing that's quite scary. A live action version would be a living nightmare. They should absolutely get Will Smith back and run it back. Speaking of Finding Nemo, I think that this is absolutely a C tier, despite the fact that this franchise has done I think it's done $2 billion. It's going to be really expensive and difficult to animate these fish underwater in a way that looks convincing and good. And I think that there is a fan base for it, but I think it's just going to be too difficult to make it look good in live action. Finally, we have Secret Life of Pets. Now, this movie surprisingly has done $875 million, but I think it's stuck with the same sort of pet issue, animal issue that these other animal-based movies have. It's going to be very difficult. There's not really a reason to have it. They're not fantastical animals in a way like How to Train Your Dragon that people want to see in that way. So that reason, it's going to stick down in C tier. Now, as you can see, this list is very, very top-heavy. And that's kind of my point, that there's so many movies that are sort of ripe for adapting from animated movies into live action-ish. And so it's just going to happen, undoubtedly. Over the next few years, they're going to start rolling out more and more of these. And I think that this is going to be one of the next huge phases of movies in the film industry. So let me know, if I've missed some of your favorite animated movies. Let me know where you'd rank them if you disagree. Let me know how you'd shape your list. Yeah, love to hear from you. Also, a special note, I think I would add Hercules to this list because there's a West End musical of it, so there's definitely interest in trying to remake that into a live action. Obviously, human-based, so easier to do than some of the other ones on this list. It just increases my point here.